and then we can start directly because we have 17 people. I think it's good enough. Welcome everyone to this webinar on entry strategies without establishing an entity. My name is Victor. I'm the Executive Director of BeLuxCham, and I will be your Master of Ceremony today. You will have 3 presentations today. First of all, from me on the EVFTA. And also I will try to give you a quick introduction to the Vietnam market. Then we have the chance, we have 2 experts with us. First of all, Ms. Phong Tao from Fidinam, member of BeLuxCham, who will give a presentation on the legal aspect and legal consideration of entry strategies in Vietnam. Then we have also a presentation from Ms. Yen Yu, external partner at the IPR SME Helpdesk, principal and country manager at Rose Legal Vietnam, who will share some insights on how to protect your IP when doing business in Vietnam. At the end of the session, we're going to have 10 minutes for Q&A. If you don't have time, if we don't have enough time to address all the questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us separately. We can take this offline and support you even after the webinar. Before we start, I would like to give the floor to the Secretary General of BeLuxCham, Evelyn, who will give the first introduction. Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you, Victor. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and partners, welcome. I want to say good afternoon to our Vietnamese audience and good morning to any of our European guests. Welcome to this seminar that's entitled Entry Strategies Without Establishing an Entity. My name is Evelyn Castellén, and I am the Secretary General of BeLuxCham, as mentioned by Victor, and it's a real pleasure to have you all here today. As we are coming together virtually, I would like to take this opportunity to emphasize that BeLuxCham has an ongoing commitment to supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs. And we would like to support you in navigating the Vietnamese market. While you might be a seasoned business professional or just green and starting to explore new opportunities, entering a new market can be both exciting as well as challenging, especially for SMEs that often face unique challenges and unique hurdles in this exciting but dynamic environment. With the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, or FTA, now in effect for over 4 years, a wealth of opportunities has opened up for businesses to expand in this vibrant and fast-paced growing economy. However, successfully navigating these opportunities requires the right knowledge, the right resources, and importantly, also the right connections. And that's where we hope BeLuxCham comes in. Our mission is to connect you with essential service providers and partners who can assist you across these various aspects of doing business in Vietnam. One of the key resources is IPR Helpdesk, which offers invaluable support on protecting your IP or intellectual property whilst doing business in Vietnam. In today's global markets, safeguarding IP, as you all probably know, is crucial. And the IPR Helpdesk ensures that your innovations are protected, giving you the competitive edge that you might need. In addition to the IPR Helpdesk, we have a network of service providers like Fidinam, a law firm with vast experience in Vietnam, who are ready to assist with any regulatory compliance, market research, or just local partnerships. We, as BeLuxCham, are committed to helping you find the tools and support necessary to succeed in Vietnam, and we will continue to offer guidance and visibility beyond the current establishments. As we move through today's presentation, I really encourage you all to be actively engaged, to ask questions, and to take advantage of the resources that we have made available to all of you. Together, hopefully, we can unlock the benefits of the EU-Vietnam FTA and help your business thrive in Vietnam. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I will hand over to Victor next. Thanks, Victor.
Thank you, Evelyn. So I'm going to start my presentation. I will share my screen, just a moment. So this is the agenda for today. First, I will give a very quick introduction to BeLuxCham for those who don't know us yet. Then I will also give you an introduction to the Vietnam market. Why is it an attractive market for SMEs? Introduction to the EV-FTA. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be very technical because it's a large. I would need more time to give you a comprehensive overview. But then I will also mention a few practical tools and resources that you can tap on to do business in Vietnam. Then I will also mention what we can expect in the next months and years, and then I will conclude and pass on the floor to Fidinam. So first of all, BeLuxCham, we are the Belgium and Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam. Our mandate is to promote Belgium, to promote trade and investment between Belgium, Luxembourg, and Vietnam. We represent over 70 companies, and we host more than 50 events per year. We connect businesses with opportunities across different sectors and topics, such as agri-food, real estate, construction, and sustainability as a topic. To support Belgium and Luxembourg SMEs in Vietnam, we provide essential resources and a network to navigate this complexity. Our network includes some partners and some service providers to support you. We also work with Eurocham and other European chambers to advocate for European businesses to the Vietnamese government. And our presence extends beyond only these events. Also, we are present online with 3,000 followers on social media, with an audience of 2,500 subscribers in the newsletter, and with more than 15,000 annual visitors on the website of BeLuxCham. So why is Vietnam an attractive market for SMEs? There are different reasons, but I try to summarize as much as possible. First of all, there are some drivers behind this attractiveness. Vietnam is a growing market with 100 million consumers and expanding middle class. Vietnam is also part of the ASEAN, which means also that companies active and with operation here in Vietnam, they have access to a larger block of 10 countries, the ASEAN markets, which represent 600 million consumers, with also some facilities and to do trade within the region. And last, the dynamic workforce, which is very young in Vietnam. And also Vietnam has made significant investment into education, resulting into a talent pool that can support high-tech industries in Vietnam. In terms of industries, I try to give three main most important industries in terms of opportunities in the coming months and years. Of course, this is not comprehensive, but just I would like to mention three different things. So food and beverage is quite important in Vietnam with the growing middle class. Also for Europe, it's quite an important industry, and it's an industry of SMEs that need the support from Chamber of Commerce. So there's a growing demand for premium goods in food and beverage, and also goods that can be distributed via the e-commerce on platforms such as Shopee or Lazada. Agri-food as well is important with the urbanization and with the size of the agricultural industry in Vietnam. There's a need for more agri-tech and food tech solutions, also to deal with the ambition of sustainability. And the last industry that I wanted to mention is renewable energy. Vietnam has a very ambitious sustainability agenda. The EU has the expertise and the technology. So one of the match is actually in the renewable energy. In wind and solar, there is a demand in Vietnam right now, and there will be more demands in the coming years for this type of solution and expertise. The EU EV-FTA has been signed in 2019, implemented 2020. There are two main parts in terms of benefit, the tariff benefits. So basically, in 2020, we saw directly an elimination of 65% of the tariff on European goods for pharma, textile, and some agricultural goods as well. There's some gradual reduction that are coming that have been phased last year. But more tariff elimination are coming until 2030, and by 2030, 99% of the tariff will be eliminated for EU goods in Vietnam. So the tariff is one part, but that's not the only part. There's also the non-tariff benefits in terms of regulation alignment. A lot of this regulation has been aligned between Vietnam and the EU, meaning that it's easier for European companies who want to do business here. It reduces the bureaucratic burden for European companies who want to do business in Vietnam. There's also the geographical indication, which are protected. Just to give you an example, the Dutch Gouda cheese is protected in Vietnam, which offer protection for the European companies, but also protection for the consumer who can make sure that they have the right authentic products here in Vietnam. There's some more technical aspect as well, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, mainly for agri-food export. I won't dive into that because it's a bit technical. There's also liberalization in terms of foreign direct investment for IT, logistic, and business services, but I won't dive into that either. Just a practical illustration, alcoholic beverage, something that many European countries export. Before the EVFTA, beer had a high tariff of 35% of tax, spirit 20 to 30%, and wine 15 to 25%. These tariffs have been reduced to 20% for beer in 2024 and 15% for spirits. So in terms of market access, it's easier to import beer in Vietnam for alcoholic beverage. And the geographical indication protects a few European beverages, such as Genever, which is a Dutch, Belgian, and German beverage. Some practical tool that I would like to mention that you can tap on to get some information about Vietnam and about the free trade agreement. There is some guides that has been published by the EU DG Trade on the free trade agreement. It's a 61 pages guide to understand the benefit of the agreements. So that's something that I would advise you to consult. There's also the website Market Access Database, which has information on a tariff on the import condition and product-specific market requirements. So it's very comprehensive, so please try to use this tool to get the information. The Southeast Asia IPR Helpdesk, I won't elaborate on this because we have a presentation today. And the last one is the website of the EU Intellectual Property Office, GIView, which can give you indication on whether or not your goods are protected under a geographical indication. So basically it's a list, and in this list you can find if you are protected in Vietnam or not. So what to expect in the next months and year? So we have more tariff elimination in the next 5 to 6 years. We have more harmonization as well. And there's still the ambition on the EU side to have an ASEAN-EU free trade and to use the bilateral free trade agreement between each EU and ASEAN countries to build a larger network, a larger agreement, block to block, and to give you access to a larger market of 10 ASEAN countries. Just my conclusion, in terms of market opportunities, the Vietnamese market is very dynamic. It's a growing market. And in addition to that, you will benefit from the FTA, tariff elimination, regulatory alignment, and product protection. And on top of that, we can support you in Vietnam. The business support ecosystem, I would say, is quite developed. The European Chamber in Vietnam is one of the largest European chamber in the world. So there's not just BeLuxCham, but an entire network of service provider and partners that can support you if you decide to do business in Vietnam. So my key takeaway here is don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need support. That's our mandate, and we are here to support you. So that's the end of my presentation. I will now give the floor to Tao Phong from Fidinam, who will give some insight on the legal aspects for entry strategies in Vietnam.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor. Do you see my phone screen now?
We see it, but it's not full.
Let me try it. Let me redo it. What about now?
Yeah, perfect. We can see it.
Okay, thank you. So good morning to audience who are connecting from Europe, and good afternoon to Asians audience. Firstly, I would like to say thanks to the BeLuxCham for inviting Fidinam to be a part of the webinar today. And it is a real pleasure for me to be here today to meet also other speakers and virtually meet you here and discuss about one of the most dynamic markets in Southeast Asia, Vietnam. As many of you may know, that Vietnam today is widely recognized as the destination for company looking to expand their business in Asia. And entering a new market require deep understanding about the local regulation, business practice, as well as the economic framework. That's why today I will guide you through various entry strategies that allow foreign companies to enter the Vietnamese markets without setting up a legal entity in Vietnam. My agenda for today will cover 3 topics, as you can see in the screen. Firstly, I will give you a brief introduction about Fidinam to let you know who we are and what we are doing. And then I will move to various strategies allow foreign suppliers to enter the local markets without setting up a company, which include processing contract with factory, distributorship, and retail agreement. And lastly, representative office. And of course, lastly, I will conclude my presentation by outlining briefly how Fidinam can support your business. Let me start by giving you some context about Fidinam Group. Founded in Switzerland in 1960, Fidinam has built a reputation as a trusted partner providing professional services to corporate, individuals, and institutional clients worldwide. With a team of more than 300 professionals speaking over 18 languages, we are physically present in 12 countries in Asia, in Europe, and in Middle East. Of course, also thanks to the solid partnership with our partner overseas, we can extend our support to clients over 90 countries. This strong global presence and strong and solid partnership allow us to provide integrated solution that's not only compliant with the local regulation, but also align with the international standard. In Vietnam, we focus on supporting business, support company in setting up the foothold here and managing their service in Vietnam. So whether you are considering the new business opportunity or setting up the company or managing the day-to-day business, we can support end-to-end business. So this is very brief introduction about Fidinam. And now let's move into the core of my today presentation, how to enter the Vietnamese markets without setting up a company in Vietnam. As many of you may agree with me that setting up the company could be an efficient long-term plans. However, there are also some more quicker and more flexible options that allow foreign investors to test the market, to form the partnership, and gradually engage in the business locally. The 3 main strategies I will focus today are processing contract with factory in Vietnam, distributorship agreement or retail agreement, and lastly for representative office. Now let's take a deeper understanding about the processing contract with factory in Vietnam. In this model, foreign company, as known as principal, will partner with factory in Vietnam as a processor to produce goods in Vietnam. And this relationship will be regulated clearly in the processing agreement in writing, in which the principal may provide material and sometimes equipment or machinery that are necessary for the processing of contract, and the processor will take the responsibilities of producing the good as per the principle, the processing agreement. When it comes to processing contract, there are some important factors that the foreign company need to aware. One of them is the distribution of the rights and obligation of each party in processing contract. Firstly, for the principal, as you can see in the slide that I'm presenting. So for the principal, they will provide the material or machinery or equipment for the processing product as per the agreement of the two parties. When the processing is completed, they have to receive, they will take the finished product, machineries, leftover materials and equipment, or unless otherwise agreed. And also, they may sell, destroy, or donate the leftover materials, machinery, or equipment to the processor in Vietnam or to any party, as long as they must comply with the regulation and conduct any necessary procedure for this. For example, if they sell the equipment or machinery to processor, then the processor needs to do the import procedure and pay the applicable custom duty. And also, in order to ensure the quality of the product, so the principal allowed to supervise the processing contract, sending experts to work to Vietnam and work with the processing team in Vietnam to guide the production as well as to expect the product quality. And lastly, the principal have to be responsible for the legality of the IP rights over the processed good raw materials and machinery and equipment used for the processing contract. When it comes to the rights and obligation of professor, there are some key to know. So they are eligible for provide some materials for the processing of the contract. They are entitled to receive compensation as long as reasonable expense for the processing contract, as long as they are regulated in the processing agreement agreed by the party. They processor also they can handle in-country export or export procedure for the process contract as per the authorization of the principal, and they have to be responsible for the legality of the good processing activity, because in order to take over the processing activity, especially in some conditional good, if there's any requirement for this activity, then the factory have to make sure that they comply with the regulation, obtain all the required license in order to do this kind of work. And as we dive into important aspects surrounding processing contract, let's take a look at the mandatory terms and conditions that the parties must include in the processing contract. So because this slide will be shared to you after the webinar, then I will not go into detail, but I just wanted to highlight that for material, for machinery and equipment that are necessary for the processing contract, and how to handle these things after the contract is completed. Everything must be regulated clearly in the processing contract, so the party can do any custom procedure smoothly after the contract ended. Some important notes I would like to present today also. Firstly, for the condition as already mentioned previously, in case of good under the list of business like under given condition or license, then the factories which produce the product in Vietnam must certify this condition. And secondly, for the compensation to the factory. So the factory can be compensated in cash, and in some cases can be to the product, machinery, or equipment that's used for the processing contract. So these flexibilities can be particularly useful in case, in case you're looking to manage the cost and optimize the product circle. From the tech point of view, materials and semi-product serve the processing of exports under the processing contract will be exempted from import tax and export tax when the process contract are exported to foreign markets. And also machinery and equipment are imported to serve for processing activities under the processing contract will be exempted from the import tax in Vietnam. These are some important notes related to the processing contract. Now let's consider about the pros and cons of processing contract. So firstly, for the pros, lower initial investment. Why? Because this strategy allows you to start operation with minimal capital. There's no need to set up your own factory in Vietnam. There's no need for maintain a local team, local infrastructure. So it means that you can start these things with a low initial investment in Vietnam. Quick market entry. With processing contract, you can begin the production quickly and avoiding the delays for the incorporation, for apply for the required license or other compliance works related to environment protection and so on. And another good thing is that it gives you to access to the local expertise and infrastructure. By working with the experienced Vietnamese factory, you can leverage their skill infrastructure to produce the high quality product with a reasonable cost and expense. However, this processing contract may potentially have some challenges for your company. First of all, limits control over the production. So since the manufacturing process will be handled by a third party, then sometimes can be challenging for you to maintain the same level of oversight as you would with in-house production. Quality control challenges. Ensuring that the finished product meets your standards require very smoothly and close coordination with the local team, with the manufacturing team, which sometimes can be challenging for a foreign company when they first time come to Vietnam and not really familiar with the local culture. And depending on the third party's factory. And the last one, and also is also significant risk for foreign company when they use processing contract is the possibility of lose customer, because especially in case your company, foreign company, asks the factory to handle the transportation or export and send the good to their customer. And your customer may got to know about the information of the factory, and sometimes they may pass by you and place order directly with the factory to reduce their cost. So and also without clear agreement with the factory, and the factory may accept the order from your customer, then it's further weaken your position as the intermediary. So in summary, the processing contract may offer some advantages. They also require a careful partner management to ensure the quality, and also to make sure that you will not lose your clients by anyhow. And let's move to the second strategy that I would like to present, I would like to introduce to you today is through the distributorship agreement or retail agreement. This approach allows you to sell the product by partnering with the local distributor or retailer who will handle the sales, marketing, and distribution of your product. Firstly, let's talk about the tax implication with the distribution agreement or retail agreement. So when a foreign manufacturers or foreign suppliers sell the product through distribution agreement or retail agreement, this supply might be subject to withholding tax in Vietnam, with the tax rate is 1%. So what is the case? So in case the foreign suppliers still be reliable for any risk or still remain ownership with the goods when the goods already land in the Vietnamese territory. So in this case, foreign suppliers still will be taxed on the income that they receive on the distribution agreement. And the Vietnamese party will be responsible for the tax declaration and payment, which means that the distributor or retailer will do the tax declaration and payment on your behalf. However, if the foreign suppliers is released from all the liabilities once the good is delivered as agreed port, as a foreign port or Vietnamese port, then the responsibility for cost, risk, duty transfer to the buyer. And in this case, there will be no withholding tax on the income that foreign supplier receive through the distributorship or retail agreement. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of distributors agreement. So the key benefit of this approach, including a lower operational cost, because by leverage distributors, foreign company can avoid expense associated with registering a company, renting stores, or maintaining a local staff to do the sales activity in Vietnam. Flexibilities in the market present. So the distributorship model offer flexibilities by enabling the company to scale their presence up and down without any, the needs for the long-term commitment to staff or access. For example, if you set up the company here, then you sell the products through the store, then and the lease term can be like 2 years or 3 years. So because of this long-term lease is maybe sometimes limit or restrict your mobility. So it doesn't give you the flexibility to in changing the location. If you think that, okay, selling the project in this place is not potential, you may move to another place. Another cost is that for the expand the market reach without establishing a direct presence, leverage distributor market knowledge and network relationship. Then it helps you to reach the customer quickly without do everything from scratch. Focus on production is one of the significant advantages of this process. So you by leveraging, by count on the distributorship for the sale, for marketing, for customer care, then you can spend time for production, for product development. So this enables to the company to optimize source allocation and streamline operation. And then the last one is no license burden, because when you work with the local distributor or retailer, then your partner have to obtain any certificates, any license that they need to sell the product in Vietnam. So there will be no license applicable for foreign company, for foreign supplier when you work with the distributors or retailers. Whereas for foreign company, when they do the retail activity, so not in addition to the company license, in addition to the business license for retail, every store that the company open within the territory of Vietnam, they need separate retail outlet license, which is quite costly and time-consuming process. However, this approach can have also had challenges. So firstly, potential lower profit margins. This is obvious because you have to share a portion of your profit to your partner, to the distributor or retailer. So it will lower your profit margin. Limited customer interaction. So without direct involvement in the sale process, you may lose valuable insights on customer preference and feedback. And the next one is for the brand control issue. So rely on a third party distributor can sometimes result in the inconsistent brand representation and messaging. So despite these challenges, distributorship agreement provide a fast and efficient way to enter the Vietnamese market and expand your business reach. So I think it's with a good prepared agreements, then you can leverage, you can take advantages of the distributor agreement to enter the Vietnamese market. Now let's discuss another viable option, which also the last strategies that I would like to bring today is for the rep office in Vietnam. So rep office in Vietnam is primarily used for market research, promotion, and maintaining the relationship with the partner, with the client on behalf of your headquarters. The legal requirement for setting up the company, the rep office in Vietnam is presented here. So the include like the foreign company has been operating not less than 1 year as of the incorporation date. And to prove this, when we set up the rep office, so we need, the foreign company need to submit not only the company license, but also the audited financial statement or other proof of tax filing and payment to prove that, okay, the company has been in the operational status overseas. And the outstanding operational terms in the company license must be at least 1 year as of the day that we submit the application to set up the rep office in Vietnam. In some countries, in the license of the company, they may have the terms. So this is something we need to check before decide to set up a rep office in Vietnam. And the scope of operation must be consistent with the Vietnamese with the commitment of Vietnam in the relevant international treaty. When it comes to permitted and prohibited activities, so it's quite similar to other countries. Like for the rep office, it is prohibited to conduct the profit-generating activity. So it's just merely to conduct liaison activity, market research, promotion of its headquarters business. So what are the pros and cons of rep office in Vietnam? So the pros should be a direct presence in Vietnam. So this is a good option for you to set up a physical presence to stay closer to your partner and your customer, and it helps you to build a stronger relationship with the client, with the customer, better market insight and relationship building. Why? Because being on the ground will give you the first-hand knowledge of the local markets. And if you have you to better decision making and strategies adjustment and lower operational risks. Why? Because with the rep office, there will be no requirement for the tax declaration and payment. There will be no corporate income tax. There's no VAT declaration, no mandatory financial statement or audited financial statement as the company. What the rep office need to do annually, firstly, of course, they need to operate within the permitted scope of activity. They need to report to authority, annually report to authority about what are the activities that they have done in the previous year. And they have to make sure that on the employment matter, on the employment payment must be compliant with the regulation. However, there are some challenges with the rep office. Why? Because the rep office have very limited scope of activity. So just merely for the marketing or research, there's no profit making activity is allowed. And if we do a comparison with the previous entry strategies, such as processing contract or distributorship, so the rep office may involve in the higher cost and expense for the company because it needs to have an office, it needs to hire employee for work for the rep office and have to pay for some compliant reports or compliant work in Vietnam, especially with the company or especially with the responsibility for the employees in Vietnam. And yes, so how we can support, so very quickly, we can have the foreign company to identify or evaluating the Vietnamese partner or factory to make sure that they have the capacity, they have the permit to do the activity that they want to partner with you. We can take part in the process of drafting or negotiating the contract, as well as advice on the relevant matters like the legal compliance or taxation. For the rep office, we can help you to set up the rep office. We help you for the compliance works in Vietnam. So to conclude, entering the Vietnamese market can bring you a wealth of opportunity. And also the way that you choose, whether through the processing contract, a distributorship agreement, or a representative office, can give you some flexibilities, helping you to test the markets, form the partnership, and gradually engage in the local business. So I hope the information that I gave to you today useful, and I look forward to answering any question that you raise in the Q&A section. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Now I will hand it over to Ms. Yên Vũ to elaborate on how to protect IP when you do business in Vietnam. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thảo. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Due to the time limited, I don't think I have a full 15 minutes to cover all the session. But the good news is I think you will have my presentation. So please feel free to read it and let me know if you have any questions. And we can always contact via email. So just a very quick introduction about myself. I've been practicing IP laws for about 20 years. I'm also chairwoman of the IP Executive Committee of BeLuxCham and external expert of the IP SME Helpdesk. So just very quickly, a readout of the important information. So the IP SME Helpdesk, they provide assistance service for you, including newsletter, training workshops every month, and also publications in format of 1 to 2 pages length and very easy to read. And then this is a special feature where you can have a 1-to-1 consultation with Benoit Tadi, the IP business advisor. He's based in Vietnam and have got a lot of experience on the ground. So please feel free to reach out to Benoit if you have any questions. So this is the full agenda today, but I don't think we have the time because we still have the Q&A, and we do want to listen from you if you have any questions for us. So I will go very quickly. There's only little difference between you operate with a full presence in Vietnam with a full company, or you operate without a company, because the key thing is that you need to secure your IP rights even before you start to operate in Vietnam. And in my presentation, I would like to give a special focus on enforcement, because I think you probably know infringement of IP rights in Vietnam is still quite rampant. And I think Vietnam is still on the watch list of the EU in terms of IP protection. So do pay attention to the risk of infringing of your IP rights when you operate in Vietnam. So first of all, IP prosecution, this is very important. It is your freedom to operate passport. So you really need to do a checklist on what are your IP rights and then do the registrations, because Vietnam is a first to file principle. So the earlier you file your IP rights, the earlier protection that you can get. And also domain names and social media accounts, like the user name of your Instagram account or Facebook account is also important and increasingly important for businesses. So you need to take care of those things before entering the market. Some examples about bad faith filing. This can happen when, like a person in Vietnam or an entity in Vietnam know about your products or, come across your products when they travel in Europe or elsewhere. And then later find out that you haven't registered for your trademarks or, your image, your logos in Vietnam yet. And then because Vietnam is first to file jurisdiction, then they go on and file the application. It takes a lot of resources and time, to take back the trademark, so or logo. So you need to think about that firstly, even before coming to Vietnam. The slide is self-explanatory. I just want to flag here about if you are appointing a distributor or exclusive distributor, then you should have a provision governing your IP rights protection in that distribution agreement. Usually you need to consider who will own the IP rights. So usually you as the genuine owner should own the IP rights, and you should only give the right to use to the distributors instead of giving them the right to register your IP rights. Now, if your distributor know about your IP rights and go one step ahead of you and register your IP rights first, then you should have a mechanism to talk to your distributor and ask them to transfer back the IP rights that they register for you. Now we will come to the enforcement strategy slide, but I will go very quickly through this given the limited time. Just a snapshot about the infringement landscape. So as a basic point, Vietnam has strengthened the IP laws just 2 years ago and following the EVFTA implementation. And we do have BeLuxCham operating in Vietnam, and also the EU delegation do have a mechanism where you can raise your concerns relating to IP right protection and IP right enforcement. So if you see anything, if you have any concern, please raise to us via those channels. And for in terms of IP infringement landscape, still a challenging market. Counterfeiting and piracy remain prevalent. This is some examples of the infringing goods detected by Vietnamese authorities, both offline and online platforms. For example, a Puma sneakers on Shopee, a raid on local seller in Yên Bai province in the northern Vietnam for trading Philips trademark infringing products. And in this type of trading sessions for enforcement authorities, there is a gallery to display genuine counterfeit goods, just to feed the information to enforcement authorities so they can proactively survey the market and run ex officio actions to seize the products that they believe are counterfeits or IP infringement. So it's also important to participate in the training, either via your distributors or when you come and visit and do the training yourself to the authorities. Okay, this is not really relevant because I think we're talking mostly about food and beverage here, but just in case that you're looking at to promote and distribute copyright content, these are the risks of infringement that you may come across. Okay, so what should we do? Maybe have a strategy on IP protection and IP enforcement in place before you operate in Vietnam. In a snapshot, the system is complex, not really user-friendly, but can be navigated. So there are several measures that you can use to protect your IP rights, your products, embracing your IP rights when you distribute them in Vietnam, including using your own measures to prevent infringement of the IPRs, or if you spot infringement, then sending cease and desist letters, so warning letter to infringers to request them to voluntarily cease the infringement acts and then further negotiate. If your products are distributed online via e-commerce platforms, like Victor just mentioned from the beginning, like Shopee, Lazada, then you can work with the online platforms to request takedown of the infringement listings. And then to escalate enforcement actions, you can bring the infringement to enforcement authorities, including administrative authorities, or bring the case to the court. In this slide, you will see the list of enforcement authorities in Vietnam. There are a lot, but do let us know if you have any problems in navigating to see the right authority to raise your concerns. And the IPSME Helpdesk is always very happy to help. In this slide, you will find information to help you planning and devise an enforcement strategy. I only have a few slides left. So just covering online enforcement, because e-commerce platform is very common in Southeast Asia. And so using the mechanism provided by these online platforms is also very important to protect your products by requesting those platforms, by sending them notice to request them to remove the infringement listings of their platform. Hey, yeah, so I'm not going to go through any more slides, and I will stop here and hand over to Victor.
Thank you so much for this presentation. So now it's time for the Q&A session. So for this, don't hesitate to raise your hands or speak directly if you want to ask a question, or even if you are too shy to write in the chat, and we will try to address the questions amongst the three speakers that we have today. Okay, seems to be very comprehensive because we don't have any questions. I had a question for you, Ms. Yan. Can you also help in case of concrete IP violation? So if we have one company that actually face this kind of issue directly, can you help, or it's only in terms of good practice to avoid this kind of violation?
Yeah, thanks, Victor. Yes, so we can help. So I'm coming from Rouse, and I'm country manager for Rouse, head office in London, and been in the Vietnam market for 27 years. And we do have 2 offices in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. And we also usually receive inquiries coming from European Union companies doing business in Vietnam. So yeah, we're here to help.
Thank you. And we have one question from Anna. Please activate your mic and you can ask your question. Thank you.
Hello. So my question is regarding the 5% withholding tax when you do business in Vietnam. So in our case, it's about transport services. So we want to partner with a local Vietnamese company. And basically what they told us is that, but if we have the contract with our customers and we just hired another partner to help us in the supply chain, but we hold the contract with the customer, we will have a 5% withholding tax. But if the contract with the customer is with a logistic partners, that 5% doesn't apply. So I wanted to understand a bit in case of services, when does that 5% apply? And what is the difference between us and a foreign entity having the contract with the customer or a local entity having the contract with the customer?
Okay, Tao, do you want to take this question?
Yes, Anna, thank you for your question. So actually, as per the regulation in Vietnam, if you have the income generated from a contract with a Vietnamese provider or any activity that you do in Vietnam, so any income that you receive will be taxed in Vietnam. Normally, it will be 5%, with the service sectors will be 5% for VAT and 5% for CIT. But of course, for specific services, for specific activity, we need to look into to to determine the correct tax rate. Back to your question. So if you sign a contract directly with your client and provide the transportation service, yes, then you have the income, then you have to pay withholding tax in Vietnam, and your partner will declare and pay tax on your behalf. So on the payment that you make to you, they will need to withhold a tax portion and make the payment to the state budget. If you work through your partner, then, but my question is that, is there any, if you work with your partner and your partner provide the service directly to your client, and with the relationship between your company and your partner, is there any payment that you receive from your partner?
We will have to find a way, and that's a bit, yeah. Because basically what they were telling us, and that's we are just starting with this topic, of course, they were telling us if we have the contract, there is no 5% withhold tax, but then we still have to pay a with 5% withhold tax with the contract with our logistic partner, right? Because they need to give us the revenue. So
exactly, because I think for the second step, I mean, for the relationship between your company and your partner, I think there's some payment that your company will receive from your partner, and then this is income that you receive from the activity that or related to Vietnam. So you still pay the withholding tax. So I would be happy to elaborate. I mean, to dig deeper in the situation of your company and have I can provide further information based on the actual situation. So please feel free to send the question maybe through Victor, then he can forward the question to me, then we can organize a meeting or a call within 3 of us to further discuss your situation and have the proper advice to your company.
Super, thank you, that will be lovely.
Welcome.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Yeah, we will wait then 10 more seconds. If there are no questions anymore, I think we can close the webinar. Okay. Just to conclude, first, I would like to thank also the co-host organization that helped to spread the invitation. So the BVA, the Belgian-Vietnam Alliance in Belgium, our sister association in Belgium, and also the Italian Chamber. And just to conclude, again, if we can support you, the 3 speakers here, also the other Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam, because I've seen that in the participants, it's not only Belgian and Luxembourgish companies. In general, the Chamber of Commerce, the European Chamber of Commerce here are quite active. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. I can also introduce you to to the relevant Chamber of Commerce if you need any support. Thank you so much for your time. And we will share also the files of the presentation with you later on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Thảo.
Thank you, Ian.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Tao.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.